Okay, we can do that. I do have the post here, so I'll go ahead and post it right now. And the main title, which we have everybody here, I'm pretty sure for this, it's Gunnar Henderson and uh, Bobby Witt Jr.
Ooh,
And these gentlemen have been killing it at short. They're super young, 24 years old and 23 years old. And I did put the arm range because I want to talk about a little bit of defense. It's not just about hitting. When you're playing fantasy, of course, you talk about more hitting, but I don't want to skip their fielding. Their fielding is one of the things that I feel like it's important. So the conversation starts, and I'll let you start with this one, Ernie.
oh man, if I had to choose one to start my team, oh man, this is a tough one. I would take either. If I was the Angels, I'll take either or. We have Zach Neto right now, which is a top young talent as well. But my go-to guy is Bobby Witt Jr. I think he's the representation of a great five-tool player. Not only a
Hmm.
guy that could steal base, could run, field, hit, and bat for average.
Yeah.
This guy has power. A guy that went 30 home runs and 49 stolen bases last year. In his rookie season, he went 20 home runs, 80 RBIs. And this year, he's batting over 314. What can you expect from a young 24 kid, that who's seems like he's going to be the next superstar for the game of baseball. But you can't go wrong with Gunnar Henderson either. A guy that has a little bit more power, but does strike out a little bit more and doesn't steal bases. It depends which kind of style of game you prefer. But if I had to choose between one, I would go with Bobby Witt. You guys got to understand that Gunnar Henderson has more protection in that lineup. He has
Yeah.
guys like Santander, Ryan O'Hearn, and that gives them the potential to score more RBIs and hit more bombs. That protection is much needed in baseball sometimes. And Bobby Witt Jr. could possibly be the next George Brett, the next Mike Trout. He has that potential, guys. Now, have you seen the plays he makes in short, Carlos? Man, it's impressive. The guy
Dude.
runs almost out to the outfield and feels like he's an outfielder himself. He could do it all.
Yeah.
So I just feel like Bobby Witt's with a team that has, obviously he's just with Salvador Perez and that's it. But Gunnar Henderson has more protection. And that's why Bobby Witt, for me, if you put him into the Orioles lineup, I think he would even be doing better than Gunnar.
Dang. That's a good person to choose. I mean, I'm not saying I don't agree or disagree. I just don't want to give out my answer right quite yet. I want to talk about Gunnar Henderson so far right now because he has a 970 fielding percentage. So he's only made 18 errors, dude, and that's one of the things that I look at. He has range in shortstop. He's a captain out there. He calls off when there's pop flies. He wants them. He wants them all the time. And I'm not saying Bobby Witt Jr. doesn't do that because he has an incredible arm. If you can see, his arm range is 99, arm strength is 88.7, meaning he throws that hard to first base. You have arm strength for Gunnar Henderson that's throwing 89.7 miles per hour to first base. That's pretty crazy to me. Like across the diamond, you do that. When you go to the hole and you jump and you throw the ball from the hole like Derek Jeter used to, you see these two guys doing that. And that's one of the things that excites me as a shortstop to see these fellow shortstops doing this. And for me, I cannot go wrong if I go ahead and pick either or. Even I could even add to what they do is I feel like once they get on the field, I feel like my infield's going to be solid because these guys are leaders for their teams. And you know what? I can't disagree with you, Ernie. I'm gonna have to pick Bobby Witt Jr. with this one. At
What?
24 years old, he's doing what he needs to do. He got his contract. He did not slow down. You know how players slow down after they get their contracts. This man didn't do it. This man continued to play baseball. His batting average is up there. His home runs is a little low, but he's not a power hitter where he needs to go ahead and hit those 20, 30, 40 home runs. You have Gunnar that's hitting 24 home runs. He's second in the AL, in home runs. So I think in all MLB as well. I think after Judge. So
Right.
he's doing good, dude. He's doing good. I'm not saying he's not a good shortstop, but if I had to pick, it had to be Bobby Witt Jr. And like I said, I had to pick him based on his leadership, based on shortstop, based on his batting, and you pointed out. I didn't need to say it. You said um, Gunnar has a better lineup to bat in. He can contribute all those things where Bobby Witt he kind of needs that team to start building up, and it will. Kansas City has a good little little team. I feel like they can do a lot better. They're another team that I feel like it's gonna make a big trade, and it's gonna be one of those quiet ones where kind of like their signings in the off season. Went ahead and signed some players that you're like, oh, okay, that's okay, and then they sign another one. You're like, what? And so yeah, I think they did a good job. So yeah, dude, we can't argue on this one. I was hoping you would pick a Gunner or I don't know,
Oh
so we can
man,
kind of go
yeah.
back and forward. But what
Hey,
do you
gotta,
guys think?
I got to remind you that Gunnar Henderson is a rookie of the year of last year's season. He did get the opportunity to play 34 games in the 2022 season. He got to see some exposure in the MLB, and he finally had his first official season last year, and that's why he was Rookie of the Year. Bobby Witt came into the league straight as a rookie, played 150 something games, and had to go against Julio Rodriguez for that Rookie of the Year award. So it was a little different. He had a little bit more competition, and that's why I think Bobby Witt got to make a name for himself later into that first season. But last year, man, hitting 30 bombs and almost being close to being a 30-50 type player at his second season. And now you're going to this third season hitting 314. Yes, he doesn't have the same amount of power, but the guy does a little bit more. Do you think WAR is a good stat for you? I know Gunnar is the leader on that one compared to
Yeah,
Bobby Witt.
wins above replacement. I think it's a good stat to have. It's but I'm old school. I don't look at that one, and I'm not saying you shouldn't. It's just I'm a little bit more old school where I look at what they're doing on the field. What else are they doing? What else are they bringing to the table? And I'm not saying Gunner's not doing anything because he has a stutter stud team. I'm just saying, like, I think Bobby Witt Jr. for me, I know he doesn't have the wins above replacement like Gunner does, but I just picked him. And I mean, do you like that? That's that.
It's a fun one when your favorite player has it, but other than that, it's like nobody really looks into it. It's a fairly new stat that's been added to the game of baseball. I know Mike Trout was one of the highest ones we have seen in the beginning, but
Yeah,
now I don't know. I'm not a big fan of it either. I could care less about it, but I don't even know how it works. If you ask me, I don't even know how to do it. I'm a big numbers guy, and I still don't even know how to do it, the math for that one. But it's all
yeah,
good. I really
yeah,
care more for batting average, home runs, RBIs, and stolen bases, the more traditional stats we've had in the past. But this is pretty interesting. We have a great future for the MLB with these shortstops. Kind of reminds me of Derek Jeter, A-Rod, and then you got guys like Anthony Volpe, Zach Neto, up and coming 21-year-old kids that are also going to be stars in this game. And it reminds me like of that Nomar Garcia Parra, A-Rod, Derek Jeter. It's great for the game of baseball. 20 years later, we're seeing it again. We're fighting to see who's going to be the all-star winner for shortstop. Who's going to be the starter? It's hard to choose, right?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's
It
it's
is.
a kind of a coin toss. It depends if you're an East Coast guy or you kind of a Bobby Witt kind of guy, Midwest guy, or it depends. Are you a New Yorker? You're going for Volpe. It's kind
That's
of
true.
hard.
I was about to tell you, hey man, don't forget about Garcia Parra. He's on there too. He was part of those three. I know he only had 9 consecutive years without having an injury, but if you put them together, out of those three, you see Garcia Parra being on top. And I mean, I know there's not only 9 seasons that he was healthy, but he was pretty good, dude. And he was giving A Rod and Jeter a run for their money. So
For sure.
I just do want to go ahead and point someone else out, man. And he was one of the top shortstops, or been one of the top shortstops mentioned in the past years with the Blue Jays. And Bo Bichette, dude, he's only 26 years old. He was hitting his career. He was hitting 300 before this year. This year he kind of fell off. I know he's in the IL right now, but he was hitting. He is hitting 237. 28 RBIs and only 4 home runs. So we're looking for someone to get traded. Are the Blue Jays going to trade? You said Vladimir might get traded this year. If there's a team that needs a first baseman, they can go ahead and do that. But the Blue Jays came out saying that they're untouchable. Do you think they're untouchable now? And I'm talking because of Bo Bichette is a shortstop, and we're talking about shortstop, and he should be in the mix. I feel in the mix of Bobby Witt Jr. and Gunnar Henderson.
Dude, I really feel bad for the Blue Jays. It's a team that had the potential with a bunch of kids that their parents were really great at the game of baseball. You had the Bo Bichette, Dante Bichette relationship, the Guerrero Jr. and Guerrero. You had the Biggio dad and son, right? And it didn't turn out. Kevin Biggio just got traded to the Dodgers, and I think Bo Bichette, it's time for a new scenery. I think just with the Blue Jays is not it. Rogers Center is not the place to be at. Unfortunately, I think it's not hitter friendly, and I think that's where the players are struggling. I feel really sad for the Blue Jays because I thought they had a future going forward, but it's not working out. And I think it's time to disassemble this team and start fresh with
Yeah.
prospects.
All
And
right.
talking about prospects, they had this young number 2 prospect, Orelvis Martinez, today that just got suspended for performing enhancing drugs and will be missing 80 games. Just a moment where you thought you had this guy a chance to give him a chance to play. Now he can't because he will be missing for the foreseeable future.
80-game suspension for drug substance. That sucks. And then Edwin Diaz, he is going to get suspended 10 games because he got kicked out for having substance on his hand. So we'll see if he tries to appeal it or see what he's going to do, or he just accepts it again because he, like you said, he was part of the IL for 10 days because he needed to get his mental health together. Well,